Certainly one of the companies that has been making headlines in the biotech space this year has been BioSante. A lot of eyeballs on you. I'm here with Stephen Symes, the CEO of BioSante, who I've known for a long time, and I'm lucky enough to be sitting in front of you. There's lots of people who want to know, Stephen, what is going on with BioSante? What are some of the plans going forward, especially after having seen the data that we saw with LibiGel, for example? So let's just start there. That's
Right.
the hot topic.
Well, so you've brought up a whole lot of issues here. First of all, I would say that we think we have a very experienced management team, and more important, a good product development team. We're a product development company, after all, led by our first FDA approval several years ago of our estrogen gel for the treatment of hot flashes in menopausal women. So that's a critical part of the company. The other is, and we'll be reporting this very soon, we ended 2011 with $57 million of cash in the bank. So quite unique to our industry, especially small companies, is that we have a very good amount of cash to allow us to implement a plan. Very recently, we received approval of our male testosterone product, and that's part of the news this year. That was in February, just last month. And going forward, we would expect other data to come out on our portfolio of cancer vaccines. Now, in terms of LibiGel, unfortunately, late in December of last year, we reported that the LibiGel phase 3 efficacy trials data were not what we hoped for. In fact, LibiGel acted very, very nicely. And what we showed is categorically that LibiGel increased quite remarkably the number of satisfying sexual events experienced by the women. Unfortunately, and we have quite several hypotheses for this, unfortunately, the placebo women did equally as well. So we were not able to show a difference from placebo, which is the efficacy marker for the FDA. We continue to analyze those data and hope to come up with perhaps a different strategic way to attack the issue, either to redo LibiGel clinical trials or to find another use for our safety data. I talked about our efficacy data so far. The safety data are quite remarkable. We're now in the 5th year of the LibiGel testosterone safety study, and we're showing very clearly that testosterone is safe for women. And so the question is how best to use those safety data, which is now the biggest database of safety of testosterone in women that's ever existed. So in what's going on at BioSante, we're being careful about spending our cash. We've taken the burn rate down from $3 to $3.5 million down to about $2.5 million. And that's assuming the LibiGel safety study continues. If we stop the safety study, that burn rate will go down to $1 to $1.5 million a month. And so we have a long runway of cash. We're also trying to determine the future of LibiGel. We expect to meet with the FDA and be able to announce the next steps for LibiGel, which is still quite an interesting opportunity because today, as you know, there is no product approved for the treatment of female sexual dysfunction. In addition, we've expanded our outreach looking to bring additional products into the company. Since we have a good cash war chest, we would hope to be able to begin product development of other products. Additionally, at no cost to us, we have our portfolio of cancer vaccines, which could provide very nice upside for our stockholders.
Are there any concerns that you have going forward, looking at some of these challenges in specific detail that jump out at you that say, okay, we got to be careful with this or we got to be careful with that?
Well, let me start by saying that in our industry, especially for small companies, there are always challenges about which we have to take care. And so we're a very careful management team, and our board is very supportive, but supportive in a way that manages our risks very carefully. Having said that, we've now reported on our LibiGel efficacy data. As I mentioned, the safety study continues, and we need to make a decision in the next several months about whether to continue that safety study. Beyond that, due diligence is very important in considering other product opportunities. We think we have a good team to evaluate that. We will also and have used outside resources to help us with that evaluation. And the idea is there's never elimination of risk. What we hope to do is reduce risk as well as we can. And we're very careful about that.
So as I listen to a presentation from BioSante now, after all of this, sort of interesting headlines that we've seen from the company, what is the one thing that you are focused on in presenting information-wise to the investors that you want them to take away at this point?
Well, I'm not sure I can whittle it down to one thing. However, in smaller companies especially, but perhaps any company in which investors choose to invest, one of the key points is management. And we think we have a very credible management team. We have a good track record of performance over the years, notwithstanding the LibiGel data. We think, and I'm here to confirm, that the studies we conducted were as well designed as one can possibly do. We had SPAs, that is Special Protocol Assessment Agreement with the FDA, and so it's not only BioSante doing what we wanted, we needed to bring the FDA along in agreement, and we had those agreements. The data were not what we hoped for, but we're hoping to determine whether we can design other trials that might help us show the efficacy, or find other products where we can implement the expertise that we have in product development and future approvals. I do want to add again that we already have approval for an estrogen product for women and our male testosterone product licensed to Teva. So we have a good track record in this area.
And what are the opportunities that exist right now for the company then?
Well, so the opportunities are royalties from the male testosterone once Teva launches. We hope that's this year, but I don't know yet what that date is. Further upside from a clinical development or a clinical trial results point of view from our cancer vaccines. Our objective is to monetize those vaccines, so we won't be funding them. We're hoping to continue to monetize. In 2011, we signed 2 license agreements where other companies or entities are funding some of our trials. We hope to continue that. We hope to, back to LibiGel for a moment, have an announcement in the next several months about the future of LibiGel or a testosterone program in one form or another. And as I said, we're always on the lookout for new products, but we've expanded that view of the world. And I'm happy to report that there are many products that are available for license, and unfortunately, those companies or entities don't have enough to fund them. Again, happily, we have a good management team and a cash amount of money where we think we can move to the next level.
Is there anything that keeps you up at night that you worry about in regards to the company?
Well, there's always concerns, as I mentioned. Our job is to reduce those concerns, reduce the risks. I must say I sleep very well because I feel confident that we have a very careful, measured approach to how we conduct our business. And I think people who know us, as you do for many years, I think would have to agree that over the years we've shown care in management and very big concern in terms of our stockholder value.
And speaking of stockholder value, where do you see, obviously a lot of CEOs don't like to, get into this area, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Where do you see the value? You've got, as you pointed out, multiple reasons why there's an opportunity here, but is the stock reflecting that yet, reflecting some of those fundamentals, or are you just about where you should be? What do you think?
Well, it's hard for me to answer. Investors answer that every day, and so investors today think we are where we should be. As the CEO of the company, I'm very optimistic about what we are doing and what we plan to do. We have a war chest to be able to implement plans, and so if cash were not as rich for us as it is today, I would be more concerned and would be losing sleep. Happily, in 2011, we raised over $70 million, and a lot of that cash remains in the bank. And so that is really careful management of risk. We raised it when we could at much higher prices. I'm optimistic that our stock can move higher over the next year or so. Of course, that will be up to the investors to agree with the plan that we implement, and we hope to continue to inform our investors. We're a very transparent management team, I think, and we put out news as it becomes appropriate and as frequently as we can.
And speaking of news, you've had a lot of news in regards to these cancer vaccines. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about them. What is the mechanism of action? What sets them apart, et cetera?
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. This is a portfolio of cancer vaccines, and each cancer we're working in, and we're working in 6 or 7 different cancers, each cancer we're working in has its own unique vaccine. And the concept is relatively simple. These are allogeneic vaccines as opposed to autologous. That means that they're not unique to each patient. That is, we have for each vaccine, so I'll pick on pancreatic cancer, we have 2 pancreatic cancer cell lines, whole cell lines, that are modified, transduced to secrete GM-CSF, an immune modulator, and then of course irradiated in order not to be infectious. Those vaccines, or those cell lines, are combined and given to patients to help the patient's own immune system create antibodies to fight that person's cancer. We use whole cells because we think it delivers the most number of antigens that the immune system can attack. thereby creating the best immune response. And we have years of data in over 1,000 different patients treated. We think the side effect profile is very acceptable, especially compared to chemotherapy. And the efficacy, as I mentioned, is very, very positive. The most recent paper published in The Lancet Oncology shows that on IPI, on Yervoy, the Bristol-Myers Squibb product alone, these pancreatic cancer late-stage patients lived an average of 3.3 months. By combining IPI, the Yervoy product, with our vaccine, we extended that from 3.3 to 5.5 months. It's a dramatic increase at end-of-stage cancer. So we're very excited about those data. We hope that Bristol-Myers Squibb will agree to work with us to provide more data. And what we're all here for is to bring better therapies to patients.
Stephen, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.